Everyone hears spring flood emergency and thinks the same thing. Too much rain, too much snowmelt, too much water. But that is not what is happening in Michigan right now. Right now, the water at the Sheboygan Lock and Dam is 7.56 inches below the crest. The peak river flow has not arrived yet. It is expected in the next 48 hours. Three dams on the Black River immediately upstream are being actively managed around the clock. Sinkholes have formed at the Edenville Dam, which sits directly above the Sheboygan complex on the same river system. And U.S. Customs and Border Protection officers were on Black Lake on April 17th, searching for flood victims. By 5:26 in the morning on April 13th, the Sheboygan County Sheriff's Office announced the dam had reached the ready stage. By 7 a.m., the level was at 13.75 inches below the top. A crane arrived overnight and started removing gates. Every gate that comes off is one less obstruction between the water stacked up behind the structure and the river carrying it north toward Lake Huron. The US 23 bascule bridge over the Sheboygan River was raised and closed to traffic because if debris caught beneath it and changed the flow, the bridge footings could begin to erode. So this was no longer a high water report in northern Michigan. And this was a dam moving toward its emergency thresholds while critical parts of the system around it were being taken apart, opened up, or shut down in real time just to keep ahead of the water. From a distance, the headline still sounded like a straightforward flood emergency. Record snowfall, above average rain, the governor declaring a state of emergency. By Thursday, April 16th, the level had reached 4.92 inches from the crest, the highest point this week. The dam was at level 2, the set phase. Residents downstream were told to pack, prepare their families, their pets, and their vehicles for a potential departure at any moment. At 1 inch from the top, the evacuation order goes out automatically. Vicki Alexander, a Sheboygan resident, put the stakes directly. It's a sitting duck. The city would be underwater. The Sheboygan Lock and Dam is not one structure. It is two systems sharing a riverbank. The Michigan DNR controls the lock, the gates, and the spillway. Right next to it sits a privately owned hydroelectric powerhouse, responsible for approximately 30% of the facility's total water release capacity into Lake Huron, or roughly 2,000 additional cubic feet per second at full capacity. In a flood emergency, that capacity is not an efficiency metric. It is the margin between what the structure can move and what the river is delivering. But the powerhouse had been offline since 2023 after a fire set off legal disputes tied to the mill property. So the complex was already entering this emergency at 30% below its rated outflow capacity. Once you hear that number, the problem stops sounding like weather alone and starts sounding like a system entering a crisis with less room than it was supposed to have. Luke Trumbull, Michigan's dam safety chief, confirmed something even more uncomfortable. The dam cannot pass the probable maximum flood, the federal design benchmark that FERC licensed dams are required to handle. That deficiency existed before the first drop of April rain fell. And about 9 months before this emergency, FERC had already ordered the powerhouse owner to take steps towards restoring it to operation. The owner requested more time, citing a pending sale to Hydromine Sheboygan LLC. 9 months later, the sale had not closed and the turbine had not restarted. It took a statewide flood emergency and 7 days of around-the-clock effort by the Army Corps of Engineers, Consumers Energy, state agency staff, and the prospective new owner to finally bring it online. Richard Hill of the DNR's incident management team described what that required. Rewiring circuits, testing machinery that has been idle for years, and connecting the power station to the grid. Roy Davis, head of Hydromine. In a week, we did a year's worth of work. The water dropped after restart. Then Saturday morning, rain pushed it back up. As of Sunday, April 19th, 7.56 inches below the crest, fluctuating, not falling. 16 large capacity pumps are now running alongside the turbine, moving water through and over the dam continuously. But the strangest part of Michigan's April 2026 flood is not Sheboygan alone. It is that while every available crew was working around the clock on the Sheboygan River, the state was simultaneously managing active emergencies on 3 separate upstream dams on the Black River, the river that feeds directly into the Sheboygan complex, while the same flood pushed 3 other river systems across the state to their own limits at the same time. On the Black River, workers removed a debris jam from Tower Dam, opened gates at Claver Dam after its spillway eroded on April 16th, and are sandbagging and cleaning debris at Alverno Dam, where small grass-covered sinkholes have formed and are being plugged with bentonite, a clay material used to seal old wells to stop them from seeping. All 3 dams feed the same river. All 3 were reached by the same flood. On April 16th, Newaygo County Sheriff Bob Mendham sent every available deputy and firefighter door to door through the Muskegon River floodplain below Croton Dam. The rising river level and the speed at which it's rising. We haven't seen it rise this fast in prior events, he said. The Croton stream gauge read 12.07 feet against a 9.0 foot flood stage. Newaygo. 15.58 against 11.0. Bridgeton, 16.56 against 13.0. On the White River in Hesperia, water was flowing over the Hesperia Dam spillway with overtopping, possible, and structural impact already registered on the Division Street Bridge upstream. 3 river systems in active emergency simultaneously, while Sheboygan was still counting inches from the crest. On April 13th in Manistee, 4.53 inches of rain fell in 24 hours. The combined sewer system surged past capacity and discharged approximately 4 million gallons of partially treated wastewater into Manistee Lake. District Health Department Number 10 issued an E. coli body contact advisory from Manistee Lake to Lake Michigan. No lift date has been set. The Manistee wastewater treatment plant is still collecting daily samples. A combined sewer overflow is not a malfunction. It is the system operating as designed and at a threshold that turned out to be 1 day of spring rain. Michigan already has a name for the version of this story where the margin runs out completely. In May 2020, the Edenville Dam failed after rainfall pushed the Tittabawassee River past what the structure could pass. Homes outside the mapped flood zone took water to their second floors. The Sanford Dam overtopped within hours. Nearly 10,000 evacuated. Damages reached approximately $200 million. And an independent forensic team used one word to describe the outcome: preventable. In 2018, 2 years before the failure, FERC had already revoked Boyce Hydro's license at Edenville. The reason? The dam could not pass the probable maximum flood. Same standard, same federal agency, different river. Bob Stuber of the Michigan Hydro-Relic Sensing Coalition said of Sheboygan this week, "This looked like the same pattern seen with Boyce Hydro. Owners delaying ordered improvements, legal and financial complications dragging on, and the safety problem getting sharper while the paperwork keeps moving on its own timeline." The state of emergency now covers more than 35 counties across Michigan. The Manistee E. coli advisory has no lift date. The Alverno Dam sinkholes are being plugged, the turbine is running, and the peak river flow at Sheboygan is still expected in the next 2 days. The dam still cannot pass the probable maximum flood. The peak has not arrived yet, and the 16 pumps and 1 turbine that took 7 days of emergency effort to assemble, after 9 months of outstanding federal orders, are the only thing currently covering the 30% of outflow capacity this system was missing when the water started rising. If this story is worth telling, subscribe. We cover more of these every week.